So some say that this film is rebranded Kentmere 400. Hey people, what's up? It's Darren here. Welcome to another episode of Film Stock Tryouts. So the film I'm talking about today is produced by Harman Technologies in the UK, so the same people that make Ilford and Kentmere. It's produced for the Japanese market, specifically for the Japanese market. So some say that this film is rebranded Kentmere 400. We're going to delve into that and find out more. So yeah, welcome to Film Stock Tryouts. Just for those who don't know what Film Stock Tryouts is, it's me trying to make my way through all the 35mm film that I can find, try them out, get the images, share my thoughts, results, and any tips or tricks or use cases that I can think of for them. I got started with film photography in 2023, June-ish, end of June, July, and yeah, I've tried about 60 different film stocks so far, and I've presented about 14 of those in Film Stock Tryouts. So there's a bunch of videos for you guys to watch if you want, just to learn about shooting film or going through my process. I'm not saying or claiming that I'm an expert. I do have at least 4 years experience with photography, and I studied through New York Institute of Photography, so I have a little bit of a good understanding of photography just in general, and yeah, new to film photography, but anyway, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I wanted to share my thoughts on this film stock. It's a black and white film stock. I really enjoy the results. Sometimes the images can seem a little bit soft or dreamy, but yeah, I wonder if you've guessed what it is. Can you guess what it is? Maybe you don't know of it because it's not readily available outside of Japan or Asia, but yeah, I don't think it's Kentmere 400 rebranded or respooled in it or repackaged. I think it is a unique film made by Harman, but for the Japanese market, and that film is, you've obviously seen from the, let me put it here because it's focusing on my face, so it's Oriental Seagull 400. You would have seen this from the thumbnail, so I guess trying to hide what film stock it is and have you guess is pointless. But yeah, Oriental Seagull 400. It's now trying to focus on my face. Let me change that quickly. Exit. Okay, yeah, now it should. There we go. Oriental Seagull 400 new. You can see it says new Seagull. So yeah, it's a 400 speed film, black and white film, and it's enjoyable. It's really affordable. Maybe not if you can find it in the West or outside of Asia, but yeah, it's one of the most affordable black and white films, and it's a decent film. I'm going to get into some of my thoughts and share some of my images with you, and yeah, hopefully try and keep this a little bit quick, although I've already taken 3 minutes. Okay, so I don't know if you guys follow me over on Instagram, but what I do is I share kind of like a 4-part breakdown of the film stocks that I try, and I share it in this. It looks like this, and then I give a bit of like just a short overview, and then I share results. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that in my stories and when I post the images on my Instagram. So check me out on Instagram. I'll put my details, and then I'll also check you out. So yeah, this is my 4-part breakdown of this particular film. And you can also, what you could do is watch this video, and then after this video watch my Oriental Seagull 100 video to see the differences between those two. Both of the films I really enjoy. Oriental Seagull 100 is one of the first black and white films I tried, and one of my favorite. Okay, so yeah, exposure latitude. This film has a decent exposure latitude. Black and white film generally has a good exposure latitude because it's mainly capturing darks and lights. That's what it is. It's capturing the contrast between that and darks and lights. So it has a decent exposure latitude. I would say about 1.5 to maybe 2 stops, depending on the situation. Yeah, it's good for most use cases. Then sharpness. It isn't the sharpest film that there is, particularly black and white. It does seem to be a little bit soft and fall apart sometimes if the highlights are far too overexposed. But yeah, so sharpness I gave it about 3 out of 5. For exposure latitude I gave it about 3 out of 5. Contrast, it is mildly contrasty. I gave it about 2 3/3. Two thirds. Sorry, yeah, 2 2/3. It has a contrast that's present, but it's not heavily contrasty, and I think that contributes to one of the big points that I like about it, which I'll get into later. And then grain. The shots that I got back were quite grainy. The grain is very prevalent in the images, easy to see. It doesn't necessarily break apart the images, but sometimes it doesn't add to the images in some of the shots, and that might also be because of the conditions that I was shooting in. But yeah, I gave it about 3 2/3 for graininess. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a beautifully fine grain, but it is prevalent in, I think, all the images I shot. And yeah, so yeah, that's the 4-part breakdown. Maybe check that out on Instagram if you have Instagram, or you can Threads or whatever. But otherwise, this video will be for that. So now let me try to get to my thoughts. So yeah, some say that it's rebranded or repackaged Kentmere 400. I'm not convinced of that. I think that you can see there are similarities in how both films look, and I have shot Kentmere 400 before. But I think that Oriental Seagull 400 is consistent across images, and I've shot a few rolls, so it seems to be a lot more consistent than Kentmere that I've found from roll to roll. Sometimes I'm getting different results, and that could also very well be because of developing. The first few rolls that I had shot I got developed by a lab, and then the most recent rolls I've started developing myself, so that might be the case why I'm getting dissimilar results. But yeah, so I'm not convinced that it's Kentmere 400. And what I'm going to do is going to have the images play over this while I'm speaking. Last week I tried something out, a different way of presenting the images, but it seemed to take a bit long, and no one said whether it's better or not. So maybe watch last week's video and let me know which you prefer, which way of presenting the images. So yeah, the light conditions play a very big part in shooting and in the amount of contrast you're going to get in an image. When you're shooting in cloudy conditions, you'll notice that there isn't any contrast because the cloudy conditions create a very even light. There's no intense highlights and shadows. That reduces or just removes shadows completely. So when shooting in cloudy conditions, you're not going to get a lot of contrast, and I did not shoot in cloudy conditions. I shot bright sunlight in Vietnam with very strong shadows, and you'll see that across some of the images. So I got quite a bit of contrast from what I've read and looked at for this particular film. Most people say it's not that contrasty, but my results are quite contrasty. Well, a bit more than what I've seen, at least. So you can see a stark difference between the darks and the lights, and that's because of the conditions that I shot it in. Very bright sunlight. Why am I saying sunlight? Very bright sunlight with strong shadows. But one thing that I love about this film, and that's what I was talking about when I was giving a 4-part breakdown, when I was talking about contrast, is that it's not all that high of a contrast, but it does have a very beautiful gradation between going from pure black to white. It goes across quite beautifully, and you'll see that in some of the photos, like you'll see on the pillars and on the couch. And there's a photo of a couch in the foreground where the couch itself is black, but you can see the beautiful gradation. You can see the tones come up really well in this film. And that's what I love most about the film, is the gradation between pure black to whites. It's not just immediately contrast with black and white, and then the gradation is not prevalent in the images. The images also can sometimes look soft, and seem a little bit, the clarity of the full image isn't like in your face. It seems a little bit soft, maybe a bit hazy, but that adds a kind of quality to the images where it gives it a bit more of a nostalgic, dreamlike feel. And if you're using that if you have that in mind when you're shooting your images, which I didn't on this roll particularly, but if you have that in mind, it definitely can be used with effect, for creative effect, if you're using it well. Film, or actually anything, when shot with the outcome in mind, definitely helps with what you're trying to tell creatively. So I would say use it for, you can use it for like just going around capturing memories to keep for yourself, but I think that maybe use it for stories that you're trying to tell where you're trying to create a dreamy effect, or kind of create a little bit of a separation between the subject and the viewer, where you're trying to have like almost like a cloud that comes between, or you're just trying to like give them that nostalgia feeling. So yeah, that's kind of more or less what I think of this film. And yeah, my shooting scenario, I'd say try shoot it in decent, strong lighting conditions, with decent sunlight, because that creates beautiful shadows, and that's where most black and white films shine, or actually a lot of film. That contrast helps bring out the life in the images a lot. And because this film in particular has good gradation between blacks to whites, when you're shooting in strong contrasty conditions, it still has a good overall tone to the images. It's not like Kodak 400TX, which is very, very strong contrast, but it has a nice gradation and dreamlike feel to it. So yeah, let me know if you've ever seen or heard of this film before, and if you'd be willing to try it out. I did link some 100-foot roll of Kentmere 400, so bulk roll. That's all that I could find on Amazon, but it's kind of similar to this. I mean, unfortunately, I can't find this online on Amazon to give a link, but I gave the link for the Kentmere 400, and I'm hoping that once I manage to get a decent community going on here, I'm going to try and open my own online store where I can buy a whole bunch of the films that I've tried out, and I can either gift it to you guys or sell it to you guys. And yeah, so just trying to at the moment just share my thoughts for it, but hopefully in the future I can do more than just share my thoughts. I can share the film with you guys. So yeah, anyway, hit me up on Instagram, Threads, Vero, whatever. I appreciate your feedback, comments, and let me know what films you'd be curious for me to try. And yeah, thanks so much for watching this. Community highlights, I don't necessarily have any this week. I'm still waiting for some people to get back to me, but yeah, community highlights, maybe just go out and a challenge I can give for us is to, on social media, sometimes it seems very negative, and what I thought the other day, it's a thought that came to me, is that I've actually made some really good friends over social media, and they've been a constant source of inspiration and encouragement. So yeah, just reach out to those people that have inspired and encouraged you, and just say, hey guys, or hey, thank you so much for being an inspiration and being the positive side of social media. You're a real one. Yeah, so that's it, kind of the challenge. Community highlights, maybe just highlight people in your community that have inspired and encouraged you. And the secret phrase for this video is Inspiration Nation. Yeah, so comment that below and I'll know you made it to the end of the video. And yeah, just know I appreciate you guys so much. Be blessed and just keep making stuff. Have an amazing weekend. Darren out. Love you, bye.